All right, everyone, welcome. Today is the Tuesday, December 12th occurrence of the Gateway API Gamma meeting. As a reminder, this meeting is governed by the Kubernetes Code of Conduct, so please be very kind and respectful. And just do that anyway. It's good to be nice. As a reminder, we have an open agenda. Pasted a link to that agenda in the meeting notes for folks. And we have already have an item or two on there, so I am going to share my screen right quick and give it to John to kick us off with our first topic.
Yeah, I talked about this yesterday, so I feel like everyone was there yesterday. Is that accurate? I got really confused between the meetings and whatnot, so I thought I talked about this in Gamma, but I I always get the meeting mixed up. So if anyone hasn't heard this or wants to discuss it, I'm happy to. But if it's saying the same thing to the same people, it's probably not the best use of time. So just let me know. I don't think Flynn was there yesterday, but he also said he was going to be late today.
I wasn't either, but I don't want to hold it up just for myself. So
okay. Well, do we have anything else to discuss? We can wait. I think Flynn said he'll come, so then if we have something else, we can fill some time in. But I think this is the only thing on the agenda. So
announcing in this meeting that if you're interested in digging into this in more depth, we'll put a link to this doc in the meeting notes, and please go watch the Gateway API meeting from the night before this, which would be December 11th.
I've got something I can riff on if we need to kill some time. Anybody have any objections to that?
Go for it. Although I may drop. Sorry.
Well, if you need to go ahead and give a quick run through of the doc. Then if you need to run.
Okay. Yeah. I'll just be quick, and you can read the details. I think you're probably familiar with Istio Ambient Mesh as an architecture. Everyone here, which is basically that we try and implement the service mesh, but we do it without sidecars, and we do that by running a standalone pod. In the past, this was kind of done by this own custom thing that we called a waypoint, which was very similar to a gateway in the term of gateway API, but like slightly different in Istio specific. And you probably could have maybe potentially implemented it outside of Istio, but you would have certainly had to go write custom code or whatever proxy you were using. So we were trying to rebase that onto 100% standard gateway API. And so like this is an example of us doing it with Nginx, not because I want Istio users to use Nginx, but it's a good example of a service or a gateway implementation that's probably not leaking Istio detailed into it. And so this is just kind of an overview of what we want that to look like. It's 100% standard gateway API today. Well, actually, no, I mean, we'll always be. That's the plan. And then we're just kind of, the things we're adding is secure transport to and from the gateway, and then making it so it's a bit more ergonomic to use the gateway without having to change all your clients to use custom host name or change what host name they're calling, things of that nature. So it's pretty early. There's a lot of rough edges to figure out on the UX mostly. So if you're interested, take a look. If not, this can easily be just an Istio thing, and we go do it on our own on Istio. But we're definitely happy to have others involved. And if you are a gateway implementation, you may find Istio users using your gateway with meshy things. So you're welcome and/or sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Shane.
I finally found my headset. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I think yesterday, Philip Klatt, who works at F5 on telco, was kind of interested in this, right? And effectively, you're in the space of using a gateway as in a router, right?
Maybe. Depends on how you like to look at things.
It's at least adjacent there,
right? It is very similar to like a middle box like thing that you would stick a bump in the wire. But normally, in my experience, those are operating on like packets and doing like depack inspection or whatever.
Yeah. That's what I mean by adjacent. It's not doing kind of some of the lower level things.
Yeah. So
It's
yeah, like we're
interesting.
primarily operating at HTTP, although of course we could do
Yeah,
other
yeah.
things as well.
All L7, I get that. It's interesting just because of the parallels with all the telco use cases that I'm starting to see. They are at a lower level, at like the L3, L4 kind of level, interested in routing through a gateway. For instance, literally having pods routing tables be configured with the gateway as their default route for that level of network routing. So I'm not necessarily saying there's anything for you here, just food for thought that routing through using a gateway as a router is definitely an ongoing conversation I'm hearing over and over again. So did I lose everybody, or just everybody's just like whatever?
No, sorry. Yeah, I just agree with what you
Okay.
said.
Okay. Yeah, so thank you for taking the time to do this. I think I personally would like to see this kind of thing become. I think that what's going to probably happen, and I'm going to try to help influence this, is your efforts to try to talk about this in Upstream Gateway API. We'll probably pull in allies from, for instance, F5 and stuff like that, to find ways to express and like compose gateways in this kind of a. I know that in your case it's not really like a router like they mean it, but in this kind of sense, in this space. So I think this will be good work that will bring other people in soon. I'll try to help with that. Try to get you some allies, some people who can help to think about the design.
Cool. Yeah,
Thanks
that
for-
sounds good.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, John. Mike Beaumont, I know that you were, you mentioned you weren't present on for yesterday's meeting. Do you have any questions or clarifications for John before he has to step away?
I'm still reading a document, to be honest. So I don't have any questions quite yet.
I will say only read from the design 2.0 down. I need to go update the doc. This is like
Oh,
very rough,
okay.
rough doc. I mean, if you want to see like the history, you can see the old stuff. But if you want to cut to the chase, yeah, feel free to skip it all.
Okay, nice. Thanks.
Okay, if there's nothing else, then we can kind of close this topic for a bit. Last call for questions or discussion here. Cool. Thanks, John.
I won't see y'all for a few weeks, so happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays. I'm gonna drop off because I have some stuff I need to do. But happy to chat about this on Slack or whatnot. See you all.
Thank you. Cheers.
See you, John.
See ya.
I have one grenade, maybe two, that I would like to sort of throw in at the last second here. We don't have to go super deep about it. I don't have say time or energy to, but I do want to kind of take folks' temperature on the Gamma and admin / base / developer network policy work that is happening. Is anybody? I don't remember who added this on the backlog, but does anybody kind of looking at that, keeping up to date with it? I know that there's talk about developer network policy specifically, which is effectively, from my understanding, the network policy v2 that's meant for kind of the developer individual namespace scope type of resource. And I spoke with a couple of folks at KubeCon very briefly. And it seemed like there's some potential interest in like adding what's the word I'm looking for? Like SAN validation or kind of service account, not SAN validation, but service account types of policy into developer network policy. If folks will around NPEP, want to see if folks were aware of that or had any interest in some of that.
I definitely have interest in it. I dropped in chat. I was the one who added this to the backlog like 6 months ago. I have not even heard of developer network policy yet. I've mostly been aware of what's been happening with admin network policy. I remember hearing vague allusions to a desire to extend network policy to include service account, and it sounds like that's what one of the intentions of developer network policy is. I'm assuming the new resource is just to avoid the whole V2 thing, which is annoying, but
Yeah, I'll paste a link to the GitHub issue here in the meeting notes. And there's apparently a doc here for like application, that describes the use cases. There's some designs folks were talking about. There's also already a PR out that folks have been iterating on for a little bit. Looks like that got paused. Yeah, here just some thoughts here. So
this looks worth reading.
You said what?
I said this looks worth reading. I
Yes, it
just
does.
want to take time to look at this. My vague recollections of this space is mostly having looked at the early admin network policy designs and thinking that might be a nice way to do like deny by default at a cluster-wide level, as opposed to relying on per namespace configuration with network policy.
Right. Yeah, so take a read through this. I'll go through and try to refresh context if I can get the time. It seems like there was a Kubernetes piece here. Oh, yeah. So it's just a small link, so not necessarily work happening there. So yeah, take a look at that. I know at one point I was doing some research into Auth0 policy for Gateway API and kind of the Gamma lens at first, and I think developer network policy might be interesting in that lens. So, all right, I will. Well, and then I'll add one more thing. This is not even a topic, just more of a FYI. I am working on kind of a DNS POC for gateway, for cluster IP gateways. It assumes that something has allocated a cluster IP for the gateway, and it's that IP is put in the status addresses field. There are a couple of different, like, right now I'm implementing the, let's just use the service local thing for backwards service cluster local schema for kind of backwards compatibility, ease of use for users type of thing. But there's definitely a reality where there is a new scheme where it's like namespace.gateway cluster local or something like that. So I wrote a bunch of code for it, not a bunch, but I wrote some code for it yesterday and Friday. Haven't tested it yet, but we'll see. We'll see what we'll see how it works. And I'll let folks here know. This is kind of part of the look at other potential options besides buying the service. Well, other things in addition to buying the service, to be specific. So just want to let folks know that's happening, and I'll update when I have more.
Cool.
All right. Figured I've stalled enough time to give folks time to add things to the agenda if they have got them. So happy to wrap up here. Nothing else. Like Shane said, probably won't be meeting Gamma again until I think the new year, probably between all the time off and stuff like that. So happy holidays, everybody. Looking forward to doing some awesome things with y'all next year.
Happy holidays.
Take care, y'all.
Thanks. Yeah.
Bye, y'all.